remind you to ask to remain as quiet as possible since it is a narrated presentation. You are also asked not to take photos during the program and to refrain from smoking. In addition, we must insist that you do keep your children absolutely quiet and seated in a seat at all times during the program. If this is not possible, please escort them to the outer lobby out of consideration to others. So that you will be familiar with their meaning during the program, please note the key lights around the map border. Thank you.
Welcome to Gettysburg National Military Park. You are located at the center of one of the most famous battlefields in the world, enacted on a stage of 20,000 acres during the first 3 days of July 1863. The Battle of Gettysburg was one of the most decisive battles in history. Termed the high tide of the Southern Confederacy, it is considered by many historians the turning point of the American Civil War. Your present position is indicated by the white light on the map. The town of Gettysburg is north of us, about 1 mile. Note that the map is oriented as marked along its edges. Near the end of June, part of the invading Confederate Army passed 25 miles beyond the town of Gettysburg. Now, on July 1st, the whole Army, led by General Robert E. Lee, was converging from the west and north. General George Gordon Meade, commanding the Northern Army, moved his forces in from the south of Gettysburg. He had been ordered to stay between the invading Confederates and Washington, D.C., the capital. Therefore, when the Battle of Gettysburg started, the Northern forces came in from the south, and the Southern forces came in from the north and west. The first troops to arrive were Union forces. They came in from the south, passed through the town of Gettysburg, and scattered out in line of battle, leaving 2 brigades in reserve. The reserve brigades are resting at the cemetery near our present location. Then the Confederates began their attack, first from the west and then from the north. The Confederates advanced and struck the Union line in this fashion. Today, the Eternal Light Peace Memorial stands at about the center of where this July 1st fighting took place. The commander of the Union troops that opened the action, General John Reynolds of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, was killed at this spot, only 52 miles from his home. He was succeeded in command by General Abner Doubleday, the man who ordered the first shots to be fired from Fort Sumter more than 2 years earlier, marking the beginning of the tragic Civil War. The important thing to note here is that the Confederate line was longer than the Union line. It overlapped the ends of the Union position. The right flank of the Union line at Barlow Knoll, in particular, was in danger. Finally, the right end of the Union line crumbled. Then the remainder of the Union forces on left and center were dislodged and compelled to fall back along this line. The Confederates continued to press the Union men and drove them through the streets of the town of Gettysburg. The Union line continued to fall back until it reached the point where the reserve troops were waiting. And then, with their assistance and the cover of the ridge, the retreat was halted and the line reorganized. The Confederates pursued, but did not again attack on the evening of the 1st of July. Instead, they were content to reorganize their line in this manner. And as the campfires began to appear behind the lines the night of July 1st, the two armies occupied these positions. To sum up the first day, the Union forces were driven back through the town of Gettysburg, a distance of nearly 2 miles, and the retreat ended here, where we are located, on what is called Cemetery Hill. In the meantime, the Confederate commander, General Lee, arrived on the field and made his headquarters here. General Meade, the Union chief, arrived and made his headquarters there. Meade's headquarters is just about 600 yards south of the visitor center, our present location. During the night, a few additional campfires appeared behind the Confederate line, out along the Chambersburg Road, indicating the approach of the head of Longstreet's column. Lieutenant General James Longstreet commanded the First Corps of the Confederate Army and was a trusted friend and confidant of General Lee. His approach would not have been as consoling to the Confederates if they could have seen the great number of additional campfires springing up in the Union rear, indicating the arrival of many more Union forces. This buildup of Union power took shape throughout the morning of July 2nd. As the campfires winked out behind the lines, the newly arrived Union troops moved into position along the front. No fighting had occurred during the night of the 1st or the morning of the 2nd, and that is the appearance of the two lines as they approached the first fighting on the second day at Gettysburg. The Third Corps of the Union Army, under General Daniel Sickles, advanced to a new position ahead of the Union position. When Sickles reached that point, he received word that Confederates were moving from the west. This was Longstreet moving in. Sickles' line was spread out in this way. An angle was formed in the line at the famous peach orchard along present-day Business Route 15, the Emmitsburg Road, the road to Washington. The left of the line rested at a large ledge of rocks called the Devil's Den. Longstreet is ready. His men come forward in line of battle from Seminary Ridge. He opens by advancing his right toward Big Round Top, the large hill at the southern end of the battlefield. Big Round Top held no immediate importance because it was wooded and too rugged for artillery. The smaller hill to the north, Little Round Top, had recently been cleared of trees. It became a key position at Gettysburg. If the Confederates had occupied this hill, the smaller one, they may well have won a victory at Gettysburg because, from the crest, their guns would have commanded all of the ground between our present location and Little Round Top. The man who is sometimes called the savior of Gettysburg, General Gouverneur K. Warren, rode to the hill and realized its importance. When he saw the Confederates coming, he rushed a brigade of 1,300 men to guard it. And just as the brigade was positioned, the Confederates struck in this fashion. The one brigade checked them until another arrived. Then the two brigades stopped the Confederate advance and compelled them to fall back into the valley. In the meantime, additional Confederate units were moving in. The Union forces in Devil's Den were driven back into the Valley of Death. The Union forces in front of these Confederates were driven back across the wheat field. 7 Union brigades plunged in and regained the wheat field. 4 of these brigades are the same 4 that were back here. They plunged into the front line as reinforcing units. These Confederates were supported by sharpshooters posted among the rocks in the Devil's Den area. The sharpshooters were picking off the Union men on Little Round Top, including some of the prominent Union officers on the southern end of the field. Now Longstreet sent the remainder of his column forward. His entire column was in motion. It had left Seminary Ridge and was pressing towards Cemetery Ridge. Union reserves were quickly pushed in there to plug the hole in the line. General Sickles, commanding the Union left, was at this point when his right leg was nearly torn off by a Confederate shell. The one-legged officer outlived all the other corps commanders who fought in the battle. Sickles died in 1914, 51 years after he lost his leg on this field. Longstreet's Confederates continued their advance. They swept through the peach orchard and drove the Union line back in this fashion. The Union forces in this sector were driven out, and Longstreet's troops moved into the wheat field, fought their way through the wheat field into the Valley of Death, and launched another assault on Little Round Top. But again they were stopped when they bumped into that little hill. The farthest advance of that particular portion of Longstreet's column is marked by the little stream in the Valley of Death, which became known as Bloody Run. In the meantime, the left of the attacking column, part of A.P. Hill's corps, had swept the Union line back to Cemetery Ridge. They were stopped because of that ridge, and because the Union reserves, many of them from the right of the line, were rushed forward. They went into line of battle along the ridge, bolstering the line, stopping Hill's advance and compelling them to turn back. The right wing withdrew first. Then Union troops struck the center to the edge of the wheat field, where they stopped. The wheat field stood between the two lines, now a bloody no-man's land. This little green light indicates the location of a portion of the 1st Minnesota Regiment. During the action we have just covered, this one regiment attacked and stopped 2 brigades, but lost almost 70% of its men engaged. Most of the losses were suffered in about 15 minutes. The Confederates in that sector were in open fields. With the advance stopped, they couldn't stay out in the open, so they fell back, first along this line, and then back to the protection of Seminary Ridge. These Confederates on the right stayed in their advanced position. They were protected by trees and rocks. That ended the fighting on the southern end of the field during the second day. We move now to Culp's Hill, the right flank of the Union Army. We are here. Culp's Hill is 3/4 of a mile east of this visitor center. Spangler Spring is located at the base of that hill. Most of the Union troops on Culp's Hill had been withdrawn. They were among the troops that went out to help stop Longstreet, leaving just this one brigade to guard the hill. The evening of July 2nd, 3 Confederate brigades moved against one Union brigade fighting behind rock and log barricades. The Northern soldiers could not be dislodged, but the Confederates found light resistance on the south slope of the hill. They moved into the empty trenches of the withdrawn Union troops, and then the Confederates stopped. One could ask, why did they stop? They had moved against the hill late in the evening, and the falling of darkness hampered their movement over unfamiliar ground. Also, in those days, communications depended on daylight. Somebody on foot or on horseback carrying a message. Then, too, they were afraid the Union forces might be retiring deliberately, baiting them into a trap. Uncertain, they decided to wait until daylight. During the night, the Confederates were reinforced by 4 brigades, But the pause in the battle was fatal. It gave the Union officers time to return all of their troops and to add reinforcements. On the morning of July 3rd, the last day at Gettysburg, the Union position was too strong, and the Confederates had lost their chance. The battle at Culp's Hill was renewed about 4 in the morning on the third day. They hammered each other for 7 hours, in what some called the bloodiest fighting of the war. About 11 o'clock, the Confederate officers, realizing that it was a waste of life to continue the conflict, ordered their men to withdraw, and in breaking off the engagement, ended the threat to the Union right flank. That brings us to Longstreet's assault, popularly known as Pickett's Charge, considered by some the turning point in the 4-year American Civil War. The attack occurred in the afternoon of the last day at Gettysburg. The Confederates withdrew from Culp's Hill at 11 in the morning. From 11 until 1 in the afternoon, the field was quiet. Lee was preparing the stage for one of the great infantry charges of history. Meade, anticipating that another assault would be made, was preparing to repulse it. They were juggling positions. Finally, the two armies were in position along these lines. Lee maneuvered nearly 12,000 men into line of battle. Keep in mind that we are located here. The center of the Union line became known as the high water mark, meaning the high tide of the Confederacy, the high point of a Confederate military achievement. After Gettysburg, the tide of the Confederacy receded. The Union center was separated from the Confederate attacking column by almost a mile stretch of open fields. 12,000 men were going to cross those open fields. Longstreet was fearful. He doubted its chance of success. But Lee knew they were running low on supplies on unfriendly soil and must have the victory, which had seemed so close in the last 2 days. He decided that the gain would be worth the risk. Some 150 cannons on Seminary Ridge opened fire upon the Union center. Many of the trees in the grove at the corner of this building were blasted to splinters. A few minutes later, over 100 Union guns here along Cemetery Ridge answered. For 2 hours, the hills shook during the thunderous barrage. Then the Union officers, believing that the assault would soon follow, ordered their guns to stop firing in order to prepare for it. The Confederate officers, noting the break in Union fire, thought that the Union line was demoralized. A reluctant nod from Longstreet was the signal that sent 12,000 men, rank upon rank, with banners waving, marching across open fields. They didn't rush at first. They marched. The Union guns were silent, waiting. And then suddenly these 12,000 men discovered they were facing a roaring volcano. The Union guns had reopened. The Confederates continued marching until they reached this point. Then they halted, reorganized, and rushed in the face of cannon loaded with canister, like giant shotgun shells. Still they came. Finally, butternut brown uniform melded with the blue in a bloody hand-to-hand conflict. The lines became entangled. Thus did a divided nation drain its own lifeblood. Brothers fighting brothers, each for the cause he thought was right. 50 minutes. 50 minutes. and the greatest infantry charge in our history was history. Of the 12,000 men who started the charge, over half did not come back. In Pickett's division alone, all but 3 of the field officers were dead or wounded, including 3 generals. Entire regiments disappeared. Fewer than 1,000 of Pickett's soldiers answered the next morning's roll call. Note that the Confederate attack was split into 2 columns. The main column here. The smaller column, confused by the smoke, attacked slightly to the south. 2 Union regiments, consisting of troops from the state of Vermont, daringly advanced into the gap created in the Confederate lines. They wheeled to the right, facing north, and raked the flank of the larger Confederate column. Then the Vermonters did an about-face, fired south, and tore up the flank of the smaller column. These 2 small regiments effectively demoralized the flanks of Longstreet's 2 columns. The Confederates fell back to Seminary Ridge. The final maneuver at Gettysburg occurred 5 miles east of the main battlefield. Several brigades of Union cavalry under General David M. Gregg were patrolling those fields. One of these brigades was commanded by a 24-year-old brigadier general, George Armstrong Custer, who would later make a last stand against the Sioux Indians in Montana, the Battle of Little Bighorn. Lee ordered the famous Confederate cavalryman Jeb Stuart, who had come onto the field from the north, to swing around the Union right to a position behind the Union Army, to have his cavalry in position behind the Union lines when Pickett's troops broke through. There would then be infantry in the front, cavalry poised in the rear. Lee intended to use his cavalry to complete the Union route once Pickett broke through. But Stuart ran into trouble. When he reached this area, he was spotted. He came into line of battle to find the 2 Union brigades blocking his front. He sent forth his first units as snipers and skirmishers. One of the Confederate brigades ran out of ammunition and was compelled to withdraw. The remainder of the Confederates advanced and were caught. The Union troops were firing on them from 3 different angles. Stuart, hampered in his movement, ordered the Confederates to withdraw. He left the field to the 2 Union brigades and retired. The last Confederate thrust at Gettysburg had been made. The high water mark had been reached. Though the war would bleed on for 2 more years, the Confederate cause, for which her sons had fought so bravely, was doomed. The following day, July 4th, the 2 armies sat, facing each other, nursing their wounds. During the evening of July 4th, in a pouring rain which must have reflected their mood, Lee, Longstreet, Ewell, Hill, Stuart, the entire Confederate Army started the withdrawal that ended the bloodiest event to ever take place on the American continent. 51,000 soldiers, Americans all, 30% of the armies involved were casualties in the 3 days of bitter fighting. We direct your attention to the shape of the Union line, the famous fishhook formation at Gettysburg. If you keep a picture of the fishhook in your mind, you can better understand the battlefield when you make your tour. We are located where the hook begins to bend. It It bends through the National Cemetery, back over Culp's Hill, with the point of the hook near Spangler Spring. The shank, or long end of the hook, begins here at the Visitor Center and follows south along the crest of Cemetery Ridge, past the high water mark, Vermont Monument, Pennsylvania Monument, Minnesota Monument, Little Round Top, and ends at Big Round Top. Keep this in mind. You can keep your directions in order as you tour the battlefield. 4.5 months after the battle, on the evening of November 18th, President Abraham Lincoln came to Gettysburg for the dedication of the Gettysburg National Cemetery. Now, with the armies far away in Virginia, the lights of the town and farmhouses burn throughout the countryside. The President spent the night at the David Wills residence. Here he completed the final draft of the speech he was to deliver the following day. The next morning, November 19, 1863, as the few thousand people that were to share in one of the greatest events of history were gathering on the streets of this little town, Lincoln emerged, mounted a horse, and rode to the cemetery, using the road that passes in front of this building. Amid the neat rows of freshly dug graves and a few carefully chosen phrases of dedication, he defined for all Americans the lesson of so much bloodshed. The world, he said, can never forget what they did here. It is for us to highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
This concludes the map presentation. Please use the side exits to your right.
All be took care of, but it ain't because of them politicians and these town folk here. They're going in and asking for politicians to come and help them. Well, good luck, good luck. Reckon they're gonna need it. Anyhow, they say they're coming. Very next day, it'd be Tuesday after the battle, I'd be out on the field, back on the Grand Charge field, right behind us. Boys and I, we're putting some boys down and lifting that mint. I looks up. You see where those folk are right up there? I'll tell you, closer than them folk there comes this beautiful carriage. I ain't never seen a carriage prettier than that. Drawn by two of the finest horses I ever saw. Nicest horse flesh I've seen since I left Wayne County, sir. I tell you, nicest horse flesh. One of them, big old bay, white star. That's gonna make no difference, I guess. Anyhow, they come running up and it stopped. There were 4 people in that carriage. One fella, I look up and our eyes meet. And I tell you, I ain't seen sad in nobody's eyes like that ever before or ever since. I mean, just sad, something terrible. I look up and, well, I go back paying not much never mind because we got work to do. But I did see he turned around and he talked with the folks behind him for a few minutes. And then the carriage rides off and we go on our work. That night in town, that night, boys down in town, they tell me that the governor of Pennsylvania, Governor Curtin, he be here that day. That's who that be. I know that's who it was. Lord of mine, I ain't never seen a politician. Now I see the governor, and he be that close, he be that close. Oh, he ain't doing nothing, though. He telling people downtown he got to go back. Tell a lawyer downtown, you boys get together, buy some land, because we need a cemetery fit and proper to put our boys down. That be true. That be true. Very next day, state representatives start to come in. State representatives coming in. Me and my boys, we's out on the field. I hear my name called. Ingram Pearson. Turned around, walking toward me. Fine looking man. Yes, sir, he look about like you. Fine looking man. He walks on over to me and he puts his hand out. He says, Ingram Pearson. I said, yes, sir. He says, I'm Theodore Diamond, son, state representative of the grand state of New York. Pleased to make your acquaintance, sir. I shakes his hand, and he tells me we got a lot of work to do, and I said, yes, sir. Pleasure to serve you. I know that's why I stayed on. And then he reaches into his pocket, and he pulls out a list, Lord Almighty, it must have been that long, all nice and neat handwritten names, all in ink, all nice, neat handwritten names. And he tells me, Ingram, these are the boys from New York that we're going to find and ship home. Lord Almighty, we're going to find them and ship home. How are we going to do that? And he tells me he don't know, but that's what we're here for, and we're going to get cracking on it. Like Jingoes, and so we start. Now, I knows where most of the boys from New York fought. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So we just go back out there, starting way over there on Seminary Ridge, way on the other side of town. We find where the New York boys fought, and we start looking for graves. Or you run across the little stalks in the ground, and they have names written on them, and we start balancing them off. Lord Almighty, every once in a while we find one. Name's on the stalk, same as the name on that list. And we find one of them graves, why, then we dig it up. Oh, terrible work. Hey, dig it up, and clean it up, put it in a new box. And Mr. Diamond, he has some disinfectant stuff that he put on it, and then we package it all up, and that boy gets shipped home for proper fit and burial. As it should be. We work every day. It gets worse and harder, and those stalks have been knocked over, and some of them have been rooted up by the pigs. A lot of pigs around here, you know. And rooted up, and rain come down and wash off those stalks. You can't read them. And I tell you, Lord Almighty, one day we was out not too far from here, over in the woods, looking around, and there'd be a fire made up of them stalks. Some boy made coffee out of them, I reckon. I tell you, finding those boys get harder and harder. Every day it's getting harder. We're working. I tell you, we're nigh on to the middle of July. Before we get all the bodies just down. All the bodies is down. Horses still laying around, stinking and flies all over, but we ain't paying no never mind the horses. Town folk working the horses. We're down.
Where the Confederates started their line of attack?
That's right, along this ridge.
Right here?
All along this ridge. You see all the artillery back here?
So that's pointing towards the town of Gettysburg.
No, in the distance. The guns that are at the back of me were firing all the way to that side over there. That's where the Union troops were over in those trees around that farmhouse.
Part of the Union Army as it came one by one into the town rather than allowing them to concentrate and form such a strong position.
Because they regrouped in the middle of the night, right?
Right, and it took all night for them. Right. That's spring. Approximately, but there's not quite as many.
There were more?
As there would have been, yeah, like this sanitary, I think there were actually 4 here, and now there's only 2. And on the front of the cannon it tells you when it was made and how much it weighs.
So these are real ones?
It was made in 1862.
Is the whole thing real, or did they rebuild
Well,
the
a lot of the wheels, after the time they would deteriorate, and some of them collapsed, and then when they rebuild them, They make them out of metal. They just paint them to make them look like wood. And these kind here are called Napoleons. And they could shoot for about 2 or 3 miles.
The other kind, is this the kind that's smooth bore? And
Yeah, that's a smooth one.
the other ones were called, what were the
They were
other
just
ones
rifle
called,
ones.
Gary?
Hmm?
You're supposed to know what.
Yeah, see on the tree growth stuff?
I've been here 3 times.
Really?
They've been
3
here
times?
2 times. I've been here with one of my church. Where is she?
General Warren. He's the one that found out that there was nobody else.
Yeah, he made it look like there was something wrong.
They would have gone up there.
Down here I am. I almost did a flip. That's it. What? Again? Try that. I did a flip, lady. I did a flip. Yeah. Okay, I'm ready. Whoa. Okay. Ready? Up. Ready.
Doing a dive. You gotta move out a little deeper. Oh, maybe not.
Come on, let's move over a little deeper, baby. You're too shallow. Okay, right here, good. Open your head first. Drop it first. Daddy, do me! I can do it by myself. Oh, my God. Watch out! Daddy, watch, guys. I'm gonna do Okay, Daddy, watch me. What's her name? I'm gonna do that girl. I'm gonna do her jump. What? Daddy, I'm gonna do it. Can you swim upstairs? Huh? Can you swim up the stairs? Aren't you? This is the manual code. Walk the door. Stop it, Brandon! Like that. Did I do it? I'm gonna try that.
No, you gotta be careful.
Lisa, come get my phone. Lisa,
Why?
come get my
What do you want?
Hold on, don't pull though.
Relax as you float. Go. You won't fall.
It's just my reality. That's just the way I live. Look, Mother. Oh, watch. That's just my reality. Watch. I'll touch the bottom and see. Cool. I touched it! We're gonna get
Jesse! Careful.
what if I know?
Yeah, I know. You better be careful.
Why did it get a little hot?
Don't get carried away. Then you just get silly. Don't think about what you're doing.
He sounded like. Here I go. Lisa! Lisa! Okay, well, she doesn't have. Lisa, what? Don't catch me, okay? Don't catch me. Don't catch me, okay? Don't catch me. Lisa, watch it.
You alright?
Watch out!
Dive smooth. Kick your behind up. That's what you want to do. Kick your behind up. Push it up. Dive your head first. Go under.
What time is it?
That was better. Is that thing running?
Yeah.
That time it didn't sting my belly.
That's right. And when you're behind Jesse,
Mom!
along with your
is
behind,
it?
push your legs up right away. When your behind going up, push your legs up, then you go dive in like that.
Auntie Sandy, what time is it?
7:45.
Quarter to 8.
I'm so hungry. Yes, here, your legs go up too.
Mommy can't do those things you're doing. Well, there's some other towels over there, too. Dry ones, if you want. Brandon. There's dry ones over there. Mommy. Oh, okay. Mommy, I did a burp. Okay, hurry up. All right? Okay. I need to wash the hair. Gary, not so fast. Mom, you never got it. Should I throw you in? No. You do that, you're going to spank it. I should flip it down. Whose are those? Daddy's. It stops right there. It's going to go through.
Don't point to the horses.
Pennsylvania was a train house. Oh, from sure. The shoes were never always that reliable. The quality was not good. And they got these big roads in Pennsylvania, and they were out. And that's the story goes that Hill's men, Heth's men,
target search is huge. Of course, the whole prospect is kind of silly because they've been through before.
There's Roy.
This old pretty good shape.
Roy Martin from Plymouth.
These are again the early design of the hat. They kept these French. The French police were on this day. The most common hat was a fly. Well, what else is wrong? Uniforms come out of war. As you stand there, it's getting on the war. He's not a little worse off than actually. In fact, he's more than working the bills.
No, just one
I don't know what it is about war. I'm just trying to breathability. But in fact, it doesn't work. He's sweating inside. We're all sweating to some degree. So wool has that capacity. In the summertime, it's comparable fabric. A real advantage for it. As they fought in the early winter or early spring, never did fight in the winter time. That would be his basic protection from the elements. The first year of the war, there was tonnage available, but again, you see those are sheltered hats. Those are buttonholes and buttons. Each soldier would carry a sheltered hat. All right, he would wrap it around this blanket. And you can see it's wide open on the hand. A guy like me sticks out. I had to take a choice: stick out both ends or slide back. So for me, it wouldn't be very useful. And they found the same thing, so they kissed them away. So they would be in snow, but certainly cold rain. But wool has the capacity to be soaking wet and still maintain heat. It can be warm wool. It's wool. Modern fabric
built about 8,000. They built like 37, 38,000.
The hammer comes up. See how the hammer is rising. Watch how it goes down. You've got good action. That's allowing $35 a piece.
No, it's just the way they were made. That backpack was adopted from a European line. Of course, this back, it rises a little further down your back. That room very this thing here runs right on the side. Running
Now, you see that? See how the hammer comes up? That's good. That's the way it should be. When the hammer comes down, it'll catch. See how it works? I'm not even reaching this time. So that the inspector opposite gets back when you take it here, right? You reach around. So grab it here. Reach around, close your breech. Watch. Breech is over, right? You say, inspecting officer will hold it here, give it back. You will take it here. We don't get a full close yet. Try it very slowly. Take it here. That hand. Reach around to the front. Close your breech. Then come up. And then bring it down.
Much better than time, sorry.
Yeah. Some guys carry them using help. I would say Motley, that'd be the top.
All right. We're going to give you one more chance after this. And then we're going to send somebody to the Rebs about a prisoner exchange. Guess who the prisoners are that we're going to exchange?
What,
You.
Thank you. Based at the European light.
Break rank, march.
It wasn't planned, but it worked out.
And the Park Service feeds us. You know what they gave us to eat yesterday?
What's that?
Onions, carrots, and apples.
Ew.
To make stew out of.
Oh. Yeah, but where's the meat? Apples,
Onions, carrots, and apples.
That was it.
That was what they gave us. So we went down and foraged it.
Oh, boy.
Requisition
I gotta get some of this stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know how you can wear that. Oh. Oh, he's got even a pretend picture in his bag over there. Something. In his bag, inside the bag. I see it laying in the frame. Well, it's bad. Yeah. Oh. Huh? Oh, it's open. Oh, I see. Which group are you?
We're the 12th Virginia.
12th Virginia? Oh. Oh, here comes a little guy. In the woods. So what did you do? Where was your group in this regiment or?
We supported seminary ridge positions. We didn't participate in against girls.
Oh.
We supported artillery.
Oh.
And also active skirmishes.
Hmm.
Our unit marched 14 days straight to get there.
14?
A man would carry half a tent on his back that was still an extra 10 or 15 pounds or something. So they would discard them and simply lay on the ground in the blanket.
Oh boy.
We just used tents, kind of the way to identify a campsite and also to show people that they did have them. Even Union troops have had a lot more transportation than we did.
Huh.
For one thing, they're basically worthless if it rains.
If it rains, still didn't matter, huh?
If the rain goes straight down, you're okay. If it comes in the other position, you're going to get wet. We got rained on last night.
Did you?
It rained real hard. So everything's
They're
drying
singing,
out pretty
Gary.
well, though.
Oops.
Dad, get closer so you can hear it.
Singing was one of the favorite pastimes of the troops. And they didn't normally sing what you would think of as war songs or military songs. They sung sentimental songs like Home Sweet Home. Things that reminded them of their past life that they no longer had, hope to get back to.
Yeah, I saw a title in the museum about when it said who's going to take care of Mom now or something like that. So, and there was something else that just were home songs, things that reminded them of home, it seemed like, you know.
Especially Confederate troops, they tended to be somewhat more sentimental than Northern troops.
Yeah. Yes, it was. So whenever they did carry tents, then they just had to find somebody to hook up with them, right? And sleep with them? And
Right.
you didn't have partners, you weren't assigned to anybody, you just...
No, you just hook up with the buddy.
Yeah.
But Confederate troops, unless they were in a garrison environment, or at the end of the war like Gettysburg where they were in a siege position, they wouldn't have had tents. During the winter, of course, they might have been issued tents and they would dig into the earth 2 or 3 feet, cover it up, make a brick chimney, and use that to log in during the winter. Keep them warm.
Yeah.
But during the summer, they wouldn't have it. In fact, our unit was issued tents in North Fork in the fall of 1861. We were garrisoned down there for a year until May of '62 when we marched from North Fork to Virginia to join the Army from Richmond. We had shelter tents, but we threw them away along the line of march because it was too much weight to carry. Which didn't make the quartermaster happy because his wagons came along behind us and picked them back up.
Oh.
But
yeah.
the men were not going to carry something that they did not immediately need. For example, heavy wool winter coats and greatcoats. The men found out that carrying them in the summertime outweighed the advantage of having them in the wintertime. So they threw them away.
Then what would they do in the wintertime?
Well, they counted on either getting an issue or capturing it from the enemy or doing without. But the troops found out that through exposure, they became acclimated to the climate to such a degree that extreme temperatures didn't really bother them. I mean, there are accounts of soldiers living through the entire winter in a tent like this above ground. I wouldn't do it.
No, I wouldn't either.
There were some extraordinarily tough men, but because they were 19th century Americans, their life was harder than our life anyway, so they were somewhat toughened for a lot of this. We look at it and say, that's incredible. How can you march 20, 25 miles a day and go into a battle? But they had been marching behind a mule for years on a farm.
That's right. They were, I was going to say, we aren't farmers like they were, chopping wood and getting all our...
And the civilian clothes at the time were not that much different than the military clothes. They were 100% wool. So they were used to wearing heavy clothes. So it wasn't that much of a difference to them.
That must be the difference. They were so much more active in the things that they
Physical.
did. Yeah,
Very
physical. They just didn't bother them as much as it would us now because we're not used to it.
And of course, the armies had a weeding out process. You had 2 choices. You either died or you toughened up and survived. And so the men that by 1862 that had been out in the field for a year, they were the survivors of the thousands of men that went into these camps to be trained. But even the survivors, it was such a tough time. The Civil War Army just used up an incredible amount of men.
Yeah, 50 people. How many died? Right here? 50,000. Boy, just here.
As many men died here in this one battle, or wounded here, as all the casualties in Vietnam. That was a 10-year war.
I didn't know that. Yeah. 52,000 altogether. Vietnam for 10 years, and only in one battle.
They only had about 42 million people in 1860. It's a tremendous percentage of dead men.
Oh boy. The green is Union too?
Yes.
Yeah.
They are United States sharpshooters. They wore a distinctive uniform from the rest of the Union infantry to give them a esprit de corps and also to set them apart. So they had a different mission in combat.
No, we don't feel. We know they would.
Well, it's sad to report one tower up here and they're actually 3 rifles.
Sharpshooter gentlemen went to services this morning. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. You look like it too. You look like the end. The end of a very bad night.
Or else I will come unto thee. Quickly. Quickly.
He that hath an ear, let him
And I will
hear
fight
what
against
the
them with
Spirit
the sword of my
saith
mouth.
unto the churches.
Remember those
Who
words.
cares?
I know this woods must be enchanted. It's got leprechauns.
lines on this side, but on that side I got lights.
Oh, Carl, you're lavish after me Lucky Charms. You don't know where to stand.
Attention, company. Order, arms. Each rank, count 2.
1, 2, 1.
Company, right, face.
Oh,
Forward,
right.
march.
Right shoulder tip. Oh.
And 2 is they jump up 4.
Are those Union or Confederate? Confederate. Might be Union. They're blue. Yeah, they're blue.
Ready? Hold. Order, arms. In place, rest. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, what you have before you is one platoon of a company from the 4th North Carolina Infantry. Normally a company would be a Confederate company, normally numbered in the area of 84 men. So we're a very small representation of that for you today. The important thing to understand in dealing with any kind of study of Civil War tactics is to understand the basic functional unit of the regiment, which was the company formation. You have to understand that when they're talking about a military organization, they deal with the terms rank and file. Right? Rank means a line of men, such as these 4 men you see in the front row. Rear rank would be the second rank of the company. The file is every 2 men as you look at it head on. This would be a file, file, file. All the organization of line battle was dealt with these 2 terms. And you must understand that when the war began, most of the weapons that they were using were smoothbores and very inaccurate weapons. In fact, if they were about 100 yards was pretty much out of range for these muskets with any kind of accuracy. 50 yards was generally the preferred range to open fire. That's basically about halfway through a football field. So the tactics of the time brought the idea that you brought large masses of men and you had them fire their guns in volleys, concentrating a volley on the enemy, trying to knock down as many of the enemy as possible while advancing and then going to the bayonet to charge into the enemy's midst. These tactics were obsolete when the rifled musket was brought onto the field in great numbers, which eventually happened by the time of Gettysburg, the place that you're visiting today. Unfortunately, the tactics had not caught up with the weaponry. The musket that these men are carrying now is the rifled musket. It is accurate in the hands of a normal soldier easily to 300 yards. In the hands of an expert, even as much as 800 yards. And you can put the bullet right between the man's eyes, no problem. And yet they were still using the same tactics of marching out in straight lines, getting close to one another for these mass concentrated volleys. The musket was the weapon that was causing the huge casualty rates of this particular war. In maneuvering a line around, the weakest part of the line was its flanks, or in our term, side. In other words, the right side or the left side of a regiment was its weakest point. Consequently, whenever you read any kind of books on strategy of battles, you constantly hear the words trying to get around on the enemy's flank. There's good reason for this. If you charge the front, every single man here can bring his musket to bear on the enemy. If you charge his rear, it's a simple process of reversing your men, having them about face, and you're dealing with a frontal situation all over again. But if you can hit them from the side, or the flank as it's called, it becomes extremely impossible for the men to concentrate their firepower down the line. This man on the end would be in the way of the next man, and so forth down the line. This is the weakest spot to hit these men. to get troops into this kind of a firing is known as being enfiladed. When that happens, your regiment is decimated, it can be torn up considerably. And this is constantly what line or linear tactics we're dealing with at that time. The common soldier of the Civil War, when he came in, was not an expert soldier. These were mostly volunteers. They were people who did not make a living by soldiering. In the southern side, they believed that they were fighting to keep off a northern invader, to keep somebody out of their particular territory. They just wanted to be left alone, to deal with their own situation. The northern troops advanced in the Virginian soil. That changed the whole perspective of viewpoint, and men were now fighting to defend their homeland. This is why the Confederate soldier fought so tenaciously, why his reputation still exists to this day as one of the fiercest fighting men ever to grace the North American continent. But once he came in, he had to be taught how to handle this new weapon. And at first, when they came in, they were taught in 9 separate steps how to load and fire for one single shot. And we'd like to show you those steps at this point. Attention, company. Shoulder, arms. Now, the shoulder arms position is the intermediate stage of all commands. The men would march in this form, to maneuver the musket around the body in various other forms. This is the most common. Once they were told to load, they would go to the first step of the command, which is load. The musket is brought down in front of the body, the barrel out. The man's right hand goes around to the leather box carried on his right hip, known as a cartridge box. Now, if you were left-handed at this period of time, that's too bad. You had to learn how to do everything right-handed, because all muskets were made with a lock on the right-hand side. And for safety reasons, everything had to be fired from the right-hand side. The next command would be handle cartridge, at which time they would pull out a paper-wrapped round of ammunition, as it was called. It was simply a tube of paper, from the bottom of which was a conical lead bullet weighing approximately an ounce. And on the top was a measured amount of black powder, which was the explosive used in those times, usually about 60 grains. Bring the cartridge up to their mouth with the next command of tear cartridge. They would tear the paper apart, and that would expose the powder inside of the paper. A man had to have a tooth, at least one tooth, top and bottom, that matched in order to be signed up into the service. He then brings his hand down to the muzzle in preparation for loading. And the next command is charge cartridge. Pour the powder down the muzzle, pull the bullet from the paper, place it in the end of the muzzle, place the paper over top the bullet for a wad. And then they move their hand to the long rod carried under the barrel, known as a ramrod, and loosen it. The next command is draw rammer. The ramrod is pulled out and reversed, placed in the end of the muzzle. The next command, ram cartridge. The bullet must be seated down against the powder in order to assure a good gas seal. Otherwise, the bullet will just spit right out on the ground and won't hurt anybody. They want it to go down range. The next command is very important. Return rammer. The ramrod must be placed back in its channel underneath the barrel. The musket could be fired with the ramrod in there, but the ramrod would go down range. Whether it hit somebody or not would be irrelevant. The man's musket would no longer be operative. He no longer would have a musket at that point, but a club. The next command is prime. You'll notice that they carry a little leather box in the front of their belt to the right side. This is called a cap pouch. Inside of this pouch was a little brass top hat shaped object with a bit of fulminated mercury inside that would fit on the cone on the back of the barrel itself. This was the ignition device used in the Civil War. It's an extremely effective ignition device, almost 100% effectiveness. The musket is now ready to be fired. Shoulder, arms. At this point, they could be maneuvered about. Normally when they went into battle, they were already loaded. And then they would be given the actual firing commands, which are simply ready, aim, and fire. And then they would be given the commands all over again. Now, very seldom did they ever use the 9 commands that I just gave you because they were for training purposes. These were later shortened to 4 commands, and finally they were taken to full battle drill in which they did the commands on their own. The whole purpose of the drill being to make a man into an automaton, a man who would just constantly load and fire his musket and concentrate on nothing else but. This was discipline. This was the way the fighting had to be done. I'd like to give you an idea what that battle drill would be like. We'll assume that they've already fired their weapons. We'll go through this battle command. Load. Ready? At this point, they would pull the hammers back to a full cock position. The half cock is a safety position. Consequently, that's where our American expression, don't go off half cock, comes from. They'd be given to aim at a 45. Aim. Fire. Shoulder, arms. A soldier could be trained to fire his musket 3 to 5 times in 1 minute, giving an effective range of fire. By firing a volley, you must understand that this means that a bullet will be fired approximately 18 inches apart. The idea being that firing that close, they're definitely going to knock somebody down. The next weapon that they carry is one that's argued even to this day as to how much it was used, and that is the bayonet. Fix, bayonet. This particular weapon is one of the most deadly weapons ever devised by mankind. It's approximately 15 inches long. It has 2 fluted ridges on the bottom that are known as blood gutters. Given that name because they allow air to get in when this person's been stabbed in order to allow you to pull the bayonet back out. Standard military practice, even to this day, is if your bayonet gets stuck in a victim, fire off a round and blow the body off your bayonet. This particular bayonet has been banned from warfare by the Geneva Convention in modern times because once stabbed with this, it creates such a highly septic wound, and a wound it is almost impossible for a surgeon to sew up and take care of. That even a minor wound, such as being stabbed in the hand, could easily cause the man's death later on. How much the bayonet was used is still debated to this day. But we do know that Civil War soldiers pretty well carried this bayonet throughout the war, and it must have seen some use for them to hang on to it so long. Unfix, bayonet. Once they had learned how to load and fire the musket, then they had to learn how to maneuver. Now, it's going to be a little difficult to show with such a short number of men today, but we'll try our best with it. Shoulder, arm. First thing they would be taught would be to march by the flank.